Okay, I want to start today with a little word association. If I say meditation, what is the immediate image that pops into your head? And be honest.
Oh, that's easy.
Hmm.
It's the monk on the mountaintop.
Right.
Someone sitting cross-legged, probably on a cushion, eyes closed, completely silent.
Mm.
And I think this is the most important part, totally alone.
Exactly. That's the archetype, the solitary hero journey. Me, myself, and my breath. We have this cultural script that says if you want to get deep, if you want to find enlightenment or peace, you have to
You
withdraw,
have to go to the cave.
go to the cave, build an island.
Yeah, that's the solitary confinement model of spiritual growth.
Yeah.
We tend to treat other people almost as distractions.
Yeah.
Like, I could be so zen if my family would just stop talking to me.
Right. Or my inner peace is being interrupted by your loud chewing.
Yeah.
But today, we're going to take a sledgehammer to that entire concept. We are deep diving into this fascinating source called the amplified shift, a collective consciousness. And the argument here is it's radical. It suggests that while solitude is fine, the real magic, the high bandwidth connection, it doesn't happen on the island. It happens in the orchestra.
It's a complete pivot. I mean, the source material argues that we are, biologically and spiritually wired for resonance. It says that when hearts synchronize and minds align their frequencies, we aren't just a group of individuals sitting near each other.
Or more than that.
We actually create a field.
Mm.
And that field can do things that a solitary individual, they simply can't.
And I want to be really clear for you, the listener. We aren't just talking about abstract, airy-fairy theory today. We're not just going to debate philosophy. We are unpacking a specific, vivid narrative account of a group session.
Led by a guy named Eric.
Exactly. And let me tell you, the details in this story are wild. We've got specific geometry, unexplained visual phenomena, and a concept they call spiritual physics.
I absolutely love that term, spiritual physics.
It sounds like a college course I would have failed.
It does sound intimidating, I'll give you that. But I think the intent behind the phrase is really to ground this experience. It implies that human connection isn't just a fuzzy, sentimental emotion.
Right.
It implies there are mechanics to it, there are laws, like gravity. And this deep dive is really an investigation into how this group of 4 people use those mechanics to build something massive.
So let's get into the room, because the setting here is definitely not accidental. This is not some fluorescent lit YMCA multi-purpose room.
Not at all.
The narrator describes walking into an upper chamber. Can you paint the picture for us?
It's all about atmospheric engineering. The narrator walks in, and the very first thing they notice is the light. It's described as this soft amber light, filtering through what they call gossamer curtains.
Amber light. It's such a specific choice. It's not bright white, which wakes you up. It's that sunset vibe. It immediately tells your nervous system to downshift.
Exactly. It creates a separation from the mundane world outside. You step over a threshold, and then you have the centerpiece. In the middle of the room, there's a crystalline bowl filled with pure water.
Which was reflecting candlelight. The source says it looked like distant constellations brought down to Earth.
It sounds poetic, but just think about the function. It's a focal point. It's an anchor.
Yeah.
If your eyes are open, they need somewhere to rest that isn't distracting. And water and light, they're primal.
And then there's the arrangement of the people. There are 4 of them. Eric, the guide, our narrator, and 2 other experienced students. And Eric doesn't just, tell them to grab a beanbag chair and chill.
No, it's incredibly precise. He positions them in a perfect circle around that central vessel. The narrator actually calls them cardinal points of consciousness.
I underlined that 3 times. Cardinal points, like a compass north, south, east, west.
It suggests orientation. It suggests that where you sit really matters. The source emphasizes this geometric perfection, acted as a kind of container. I mean, think about it. Why do we sit in circles?
Campfires.
Campfires, tribal councils, strategy meetings. A circle has no head, right? It distributes the energy equally. The source claims that by sitting in this specific geometry, they weren't just people in a room.
They were something else.
They were components of a circuit.
That reminds me of setting up a high-end stereo system. You can't just throw the speakers in a pile in the corner. You have to angle them just right to create the sweet spot.
That is actually a perfect analogy for what they're doing. They're setting up a resonance chamber. If they were just scattered randomly, the energy would dissipate. But by locking in the geometry, they're preparing to amplify the signal.
Okay, so the stage is set, the amber lights are on, the compass is locked in. Now we have to talk about the concept of the field, because this is the core thesis.
It really is.
Eric, the guide, starts the session. But interestingly, He starts by doing absolutely nothing.
The wisdom of restraint, that's what the text calls it.
Which, let's be honest, is a nightmare for most modern people. We want
It's not.
instruction. We want to know, what do I do now?
We want the checklist.
Mm.
But Eric, let's silence blanket the room first. He just waits. He's listening for their breathing to settle down. The whole idea is that profound wisdom usually comes from the absence of words, not the addition of them.
He's letting the sediment settle.
Exactly. Letting the sediment settle in the glass.
And when he finally does speak, he drops the mission statement. He says, this is not just a class. It creates a group field. We will meet in the field we create.
And that is the shift in perspective right there. I mean, usually in a class, you look at the teacher. Or in meditation, you look inside your own head. Eric is saying, don't look at me, don't look at you. Look at the space between us.
He's treating the empty air in the room like it's a living thing.
Yes.
Like it's a canvas they are painting on together.
Precisely. The text says he moves among them like a conductor tuning an invisible orchestra. He's not playing the instruments. He's aligning them. He's challenging them to feel the energy moving through the group, not just bouncing around inside their own skulls.
And this is where the source material gets, well, a little trippy. And I want to be very grounded here, because what happens next sounds like a scene from a sci-fi movie. The narrator describes the air actually shifting.
A visual phenomena, yes.
They start seeing sacred shapes and mandalas dancing in the space between them, like a web of golden threads connecting everyone. Now, I feel like we have to put a massive disclaimer here. The text is very, very clear about this, right?
Correct. The source explicitly clarifies that none of the participants were under the influence of any substances. This was not a psychedelic ceremony.
So if they aren't on mushrooms, what is going on? Why are they seeing golden webs?
Well, the source frames this as a natural, almost biological result of high-intensity collective focus. It calls it a primordial memory.
A memory.
Yeah, think about human history. For hundreds of thousands of years, what did we do? We sat around fires in the dark, shoulder to shoulder, staring into the flames. The suggestion is that we have dormant hardware in our brains, sort of evolutionary software, that recognizes when we are deeply synced with the pack.
So it's like our brains have a high bandwidth mode that we usually keep turned off because we're too busy scrolling Instagram.
That's a great way to put it, actually. When we sync up, the brain unlocks a different kind of perception. The text says we were not meditating alone. We were building a field together. Those mandalas, those patterns, think of them as the user interface for that connection.
The brain is visualizing the link.
That's the idea, yes.
Okay, so the field is built, the Wi-Fi is on, the signal is strong. Now Eric actually has to guide the meditation, and he makes a very specific choice with the music. No lyrics, no chanting.
Just ambient tones.
And he explains why. He says words activate the inner narrator.
Oh, I know him well. The text calls him the babbler.
The babbler, the internal monologue that never ever shuts up.
Right, mine is usually making a grocery list or
replaying an argument I lost in 2014, or wondering if I turned the oven off.
Exactly. And that is the biggest barrier to deep states of consciousness. The babbler loves language. It latches onto words. If the music had lyrics, your brain would immediately start processing the syntax, the meaning.
Oh, I know this song. I wonder what album this is on.
Right. You're out of the experience and into analysis. So by using wordless sound, Eric is trying to bypass that analytical part of the brain. He tells them, the music is not there to guide your mind, but to create space where the mind can dissolve.
It's like a solvent for the ego. It gives the brain something to surf on without giving it something to chew on.
Yes. And this leads to a really crucial distinction the source makes about what meditation actually is. We usually call it a practice, right? Like learning piano.
I'm practicing mindfulness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the source calls it a return.
A return to the source, or the original pulp.
It frames our everyday, stressed out, distracted life as the illusion. That's the deviation. This meditative state is the baseline reality. So it's a remembering process, not a learning process. You aren't acquiring a new skill, you're just wiping the mud off the windshield to see what was always there.
So Eric takes them through a step-by-step process to wipe that windshield, and he gets technical with the body. He starts with the breath, getting them in sync. Then he moves to energy awareness in the hands.
The palm exercise. This is a classic technique for a reason. He asks them to feel the tingling in their palms.
Why the palms? Is there something special about hands?
It's a sensory hack.
Yeah.
I mean, you can try it right now. If you focus 100% of your attention on feeling the tingling sensation inside your hand, you literally cannot think about your to-do list at the same time.
Okay.
The brain can't hold both. It can't hold that intense sensory focus and the narrative thought, so it anchors you in the body and it shuts up the babbler.
It's a circuit breaker for anxiety.
Exactly. And once they're anchored in the body, he starts moving the focus up. The text lists the chakras explicitly starting at the root, moving to the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and then the crown.
Now, whether you believe in chakras as literal energy wheels or just as a metaphor for the nervous system, he's basically guiding them up a ladder.
He's moving them from survival instincts, the root up through emotion, power, communication, intuition. He's guiding the elevator to the penthouse.
And finally, they go past the penthouse. They go past the crown chakra into what the text calls the gateway of cosmic memory.
That's the threshold. That's the point where everything changes. They've moved from body awareness to pure consciousness.
And this is where the story shifts from, relaxing to transformative. The narrator uses a word I really stuck with, porousness.
It's a beautiful and, I think, slightly terrifying description. Porousness.
Yeah, they say my mind did not end at my skin.
Think about that for a second. We spend our whole lives defining our boundaries. This is me, that is you. My skin is the wall.
It's the fortress.
But in this state, the fortress walls, they just turn into mist. The narrator says their consciousness stretched out and intertwined with the others. It's almost like they stopped being four separate people and became one single organism.
And the source validates this by describing what happened to the others. Because if just one person felt it, you could just say, okay, they had a weird moment. But it describes a shared emotional reality.
Right. Across the circle, there's a student weeping. But the text is very careful to say it wasn't sad weeping. She describes being overcome by unconditional love. She saw how every choice she ever made was interconnected.
Like a giant web. And what about the quiet guy, the one who barely spoke?
He was just radiating serene joy. He said he realized his life's purpose in that silence. But here's the kicker, and this is the whole collective consciousness part.
Right.
The text claims these weren't just individual breakthroughs happening at the same time. It claims they were fueled by the group energy.
Carrick uses that symphony metaphor again here.
It's like a symphony where each instrument contributes to a greater harmony. Let's just go back to physics for a second. If you play a violin alone in a soundproof room, it vibrates the air. It's beautiful. But if you play that same violin in an orchestra with the cellos and the basses roaring behind you, the wood of your violin actually vibrates differently. You are physically resonating with the sound waves of the others.
Because you're literally playing better or deeper because of the people around you.
You're being carried by them. The text says the narrator felt their own insights deepening because, and I'm quoting, the group's wisdom flowed through me.
That is a heavy concept. The idea that I can access your wisdom or your stability just by sitting in deep resonance with you.
It challenges that whole Western idea of the self-made man, doesn't it? It suggests we're interconnected vessels of infinite light, that we are open systems, not closed boxes.
Now, the source calls this spiritual physics. And they make a point to say this isn't just poetry. They reference a neuroscience meets quantum physics frontier. How much of that is metaphorical, and how much are they claiming is, real science?
Well, the source treats it as quite literal. They talk a lot about coherence.
Can you define that for us?
In physics, coherence is when waves align. So think about a light bulb versus a laser. A light bulb scatters energy everywhere. The waves are chaotic. It lights up the room, but it's weak.
Right.
A laser aligns all the light waves so they travel together, peak to peak, trough to trough. That alignment is what makes it powerful enough to cut through steel.
So a group of people meditating together is like turning a light bulb into a laser.
That's the implication. The text says inner alignment generates measurable patterns or waves of consciousness. When multiple people oscillate at the same frequency, it creates a signal that's way stronger than the sum of its parts. It's constructive interference.
It amplifies the inner signal.
Yes. Intention and awareness act as creative forces. The claim here is that they were literally altering the fabric of the space they were in. They were creating a high coherence field.
Okay, so this sounds amazing for Eric and his students in their upper chamber with the constellations bowl and the amber lights. But I want to bring this down to earth for the listener.
Sure.
Because most of us don't have a guru handy. We have jobs, commutes, messy apartments. What is the so what here?
I think the biggest takeaway is about the function of community. The source is telling us that seeking connection isn't just a social need. It's not just about not being lonely. It's a mechanism for amplification.
So if I'm stuck, if I'm struggling to find peace on my own,
the answer might not be to just isolate yourself and try harder. The answer might be to find resonance with others, to find a field.
the shift doesn't begin in solitude. It begins in resonance. That line from the text really, really stuck with me.
It's the perfect antidote to that island mentality. We think we have to fix ourselves before we can be with others. This suggests being with others in the right way is what actually fixes us.
You know, reading this, it makes me want to try something. The source text ends with a little exercise. It's very short. And since we're talking about experience over theory, I think we should do it.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Let's move this from a concept into a reality.
Okay, so for you listening, wherever you are, unless you're driving a car or operating a forklift, please keep your eyes open. But if you can, just pause for a second. Put down the laundry.
Just take a moment to be still.
The text says, close your eyes gently and take 3 deep breaths. Let's do it together. 1, deep in and out. 2, really fill the lungs. And 3, let it all go.
And as you continue to breathe naturally, I want you to envision your heart. Just imagine it opening like a flower, the petals slowly unfolding right in the center of your chest.
Now, imagine your breath isn't just air going in and out. Imagine it's weaving threads of light, golden threads. And those threads are moving out from you, connecting you to countless others.
Not just the people you know, everyone. Feel yourself in this luminous network. You are interconnected with all who seek and breathe and awaken. You are not an island. You are part of the web.
And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes.
It's such a simple visualization. But did you feel that subtle shift?
It immediately changes the focus. It goes from me inside my head worrying about my day to just us. It feels so much bigger.
It dissolves the walls. We've kind of journeyed from the solitary island to an oceanic expanse.
It really makes you look at the world differently when you open your eyes after that.
It does. And it raises a question I think we should leave you with. The source suggests that the walls between self and others, they're purely illusory. We constructed them.
Right. So if we are indeed interconnected vessels of infinite light, as this text claims, what does that mean for how you interact with the very next person you see today?
The barista making your coffee, the coworker who annoys you, the guy who cuts you off in traffic.
If they are part of your field, if they're instruments in the same symphony, how does that change the way you treat them?
And maybe even more importantly, how does it change the way you treat yourself, knowing you are a part of their harmony?
It's a big thought, but maybe the most important one. Thanks for diving in with us.
It was a pleasure.
See you in the field.